Hi boys and girls, it's Mrs. J. Thanks for joining me again. I am here. I'm sorry again, I'm probably almost positive this video is tipped on your screen and I apologize for that. I tried to do it with the video like this thinking it might work, but then the problem is that the box is in the way and I couldn't get the whole worksheet to fit. So I hope you can be a flexible thinker with me. And I hope you can just tip return your Chromebook or your iPad, whatever it is you're using, and you can follow along with me today. So here's the cheat sheet that I made again when we were talking about comparing fractions when either the denominators are the same or the numerators are the same. So this is my example when the denominator is the same. Remember, we're talking about equal sized pieces then. So if I have 7 of those pieces, that's a greater size than if I have only 5 of those pieces. So when I have a denominator that has the same amount and I have equal pieces, I'm going to go with the numerator that's bigger. That gives me the larger fraction. When I have numerators that are the same, just like in unit fractions, a 1 is a 1 in the numerator. But this time we're talking about 3 pieces of something and 3 pieces of something else, but our pieces are different size shapes. So this shape is cut into 4ths and this shape is cut into 8ths. My 4ths would be a lot bigger than my 8ths. So if I had 3 pieces of something cut into 4ths, that would be a larger amount than 3 pieces of something cut into 8ths. So when I have numerators that are the same, you want to look for the smaller denominator. So I'm going to try and keep that little cheat sheet handy. Now this is when you're going to need the 2 worksheets that I told you about, and this is the first one here, the Reteach Worksheet. Let's see if I can push this up a little bit. Okay, the Reteach Worksheet. If you have that handy, that would be great. We're going to be working on this together. And this gives you a little rundown at the top of the paper here again, kind of like what we were talking about on the chart paper. So when you have something that's cut into the same number of pieces, like here this shape is cut into 5ths and 5ths. When it's cut into the same number of pieces, those pieces are the same size. So if we're talking about 4 pieces versus 3 pieces, the fraction that has 4/5 would be greater because that's more pieces and it takes up more space of that shape. Now if you look over here, this is an example where we're talking about numerators being the same. So we're talking about 3 pieces of something and 3 pieces of something else. However, this time our pieces are cut into 5ths and they're cut into 4ths. Now 4 is a smaller denominator, so the pieces are a little bigger. So 3/4 of something is larger and takes up more space than 3/5 of something. So 3/4 would be larger. So let's take a look at the first problems that we have, and we'll do a couple together. Sorry, I have to put a piece of paper under there because I don't want to get Sharpie marker on my table. So I have something now that has 6/8 and 4/8. And remember, when I have denominators that are the same, we have equal size pieces. So this makes it really easy. So if I have equal size pieces and I'm talking about 6 of those pieces versus 4 of those pieces, we know that the 6 is obviously bigger than 4ths, so that makes 6/8 bigger than 4/8. Now if I take a look at number 2, this is an example like this fraction right up here. So my numerators are the same, so we're talking about the same number of pieces. But the difference this time is that one of them is cut into 5ths, so the pieces are a little smaller, and this one is cut into 3rds. And if we thought about our unit fraction, 1/3 is bigger than 1/5. So 2/3, double that would be bigger. So when we have numerators that are the same, we go with the denominator that's smaller. So let's take a look at some of the practice problems down here at the bottom, and we'll work through those and we'll talk through them. And if you have your little cheat sheet, I have mine. You might want to keep that handy. Oops, that's the wrong side. This was the pretty side that I made. Let's see if I can make it. I can't quite make them both show. Darn, I'm sorry. And I can't zoom out. So, but I'll bring it in when we need to. But maybe you can just look at the two examples on the worksheet and that'll help. Okay, so my first example is 5/6 and 5/8. So my numerators are the same, so we're talking about the same number of pieces. So I want to think about the sizes that those pieces are cut into. And I know that something that's cut into sixths is going to be bigger than something cut into eighths. So I would know then, if I look at my cheat sheet, if I have two numerators that are the same, I want to go with the smaller denominator because those pieces would take up more space. So we would say 5/6 is greater than 5/8. Okay? All right, number 4. So we have 2/4 versus 3/4. Now this is really easy. Think about something cut into 4 pieces. Which would be bigger, 2/4 or 3/4? Well, when the denominators are the same, we look at the bigger numerator and we know 3 is bigger than 2. So 3/4 would be bigger, and we would say 2/4 is less than 3/4. Okay? Number 5, I have denominators that are the same again. So I have something, 2 objects, whatever it might be, cut into 7 equal size pieces. So let's say you had 4 of those and your friend had 3 of them. Who has more? You do, because 4 is bigger than 7, so 4/7 would be greater than 3/7. Okay, number 6. So I have 2 numerators that are the same, so we're talking about the same number of pieces, but I have something cut into thirds and I have something cut into fourths. Now, these fractions are a little unusual. These are fractions that are greater than 1, and if you think about that, so when we did them on the number line last week, so we have 3/3 and then we hopped again to 4/3 and 5/3. So this has more pieces than just 3 out of 3. It's actually got 5 pieces of 1/3. This has 5 pieces of 1/4. Well, we know 1/3 is bigger than 1/4 because something with a smaller denominator makes bigger size pieces. So we're going to go with 5/3 is greater than 5/4. Okay? What I want you to do right now is I want you to go through your worksheet, and I'll kind of do it slowly across the way so you can kind of jump ahead and see if you can do it, and then you can look at my answers and see if they'll compare, and we'll see if that works. So I'm just going to take a few seconds. I'll give you maybe like a minute of wait time. That's probably going to be a really long time, a minute. But if you want to work on numbers 7, 8, 9, and 10, see if you can go ahead and do those, and maybe I'll give you 30 seconds because you can always pause the video, but it's a long time for me to kind of sit here and do nothing. So maybe I'll give you 15 seconds. Okay, so you may or may not have started your video again, but I'm going to go ahead with the answers. So I have 2/8 and 2/7. My numerator is the same, so I'm talking about the same number of pieces, but I know something cut into 7ths is bigger, so 2/7 is bigger. So I have 2/8 is less than 2/7. The correct answer for number 8, 3/5 is greader than 2/5, because if I'm talking about equal size pieces, if I have 3 of them, 3 is bigger than 2. So 3/5 is greater. Number 9, same thing. I have an equal amount of pieces, 8ths. So 8/8 is bigger. So my correct way to read this, however, would be 7/8 is less than 8/8. 7/8 is less than 8/8. And if I were to compare 4/7 to 4/6, I'm talking about an equal number of pieces, but I know 6ths would be bigger, because those sizes would be bigger if we were talking about equal pieces. So I'm going to make my greater than symbol go that way. And I would have 4/7 is less than 4/6. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's just work through, oh, look at that. 3, 8, 9, 10. Okay, what? Those are numbered really weird. And I just noticed that. Okay. Well, a little editor fell asleep on that. That's kind of crazy, because I was like, how did we get back to number 8? And then 12, 13, 14. So that was obviously supposed to be number 11 right there. Okay. Whoa, sorry, I kicked the table. All right, so I have 4/8 and 5/8. If I have the same amount of pieces, 4/8 is going to be less than 5/8. Well, now this is really an interesting one. These are fractions definitely bigger than 1. So think about last week when we did our fractions greater than 1 on a number line. We have objects cut into half, so there's 2 pieces in each one, but if we have 10 of those pieces versus 8 of those pieces, the one with 10 would be greater. And if we did our division problem, 10 divided by 2 is 5. 8 divided by 2 is 4, and we know that 5 is greater than 4. So that's another way that we can double check our answer. Okay, and then I have 1/4 and 1/3. Oh, this is just like unit fractions. I definitely know that 1/4 is smaller. So I'm going to make this a less than. And 3/6 and 3/5. Well, when my numerators are the same, I'm talking about the same number of objects. So I'm going to look for the smaller denominator, because that would give me the bigger size pieces. So I have to make my greater sign go towards 3/5. But I would read this as 3/6 is less than 3/5. Okay? All right, so I hope that's making a little bit more sense. Sometimes you just have to keep saying the same things over and over and over again in your head. And if you have your cheat sheet, keep referring back to, if you have denominators that are the same, you're talking about the same size equal pieces, you're going to go for the amount that's greater. If you have numerators that are the same, you're talking about the same number of pieces, but then you have to think about the size of those pieces. And you want to go for the sizes that are bigger. Okay? All right, now, if you were able to print out both of your worksheets, the next thing that I want you to do is I want you to find, mine's in my pile of papers right here, I want you to find the practice worksheet. Okay, practice 4-5. It looks like this. Let me make sure it's on my screen. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let you do this by yourself, but I'm not going to stop the video, because if I stop the video, then I have to make a whole other one, and then we'd have to go to part 3. So I have another worksheet that has the answers on it. So what I want you to do is I want you to pause the video that you're watching. I want you to do all the answers, and then I want you to restart the video, and then you'll see me putting in the right answers, and you can correct your paper along the way, okay? So if you get stuck along the way, just leave a little question mark. Think about it. Maybe use your cheat sheet if you have to. I still have mine handy. But see how you do with this. And so pause it, and if you get stuck, you can look at the answers when I go over it, okay? So pause it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Good luck. Okay, hi friends, I'm back. I hope you had a chance to finish that worksheet. Let's go over it and correct it together and see how you did. So I'm just going to kind of run through the answers, and you can correct as you go. Now I'm not going to really take the time to explain every single one, but maybe if you got one wrong, you can go back and look at your cheat sheet and you might be able to figure out why you got an answer wrong that you did. Okay, so number 1, the correct answer is 4/5 is greater than 4/7. Number 2 is greater than. 3/4 is greater than 3/5. Number 3 is less than. 5/8 is less than 5/6. Number 4 is less than. 1/3 is less than 1/2. Number 5 is less than. This was a tricky one again with fractions greater than 1, but if you think about a certain number of eighths, if you have 9 of those eighths, that's bigger than 7 of those eighths. Number 6, this one's pretty easy. 2/5 is less than 3/5. Number 7, this is a fun one. I'm wondering if you caught this. If I have 5/5, I'm talking about a whole, and if I have 8/8, I'm talking about a whole. So that's equal. Number 8, 2/3 is greater than 2/5. Number 9, 5/7 is greater than 5/8. Number 10, here's another tricky one. 4/4 is a whole, 6/6 is a whole. So those are equal. Number 11, 1/5 is greater than 1/6. That's a unit fraction. I hope you caught that. Number 12, something cut into eighths would be smaller than something cut into sevenths. So this is a less than. Number 13 is also a less than. We're talking about the same amount of pieces, same size. So 2/8, same size pieces. So 2/8 is less than 3/8. Number 14, fractions greater than 1 again. But if you think about if you have pieces cut into fifths and you have 7 of those fifths versus 4 of those fifths, 7/5 would be greater. Number 15, 3/7 is less than 5/7. And number 16, 3/6 is greater than 2/6. Okay, so I'm hoping you had a lot of problems correct at the top. Your word problems at the bottom. So let's read what they say. So Kenji made 5 out of 8 free throws. Simon made 6 out of 8 free throws. Who made a greater fraction of his free throws? Well, it looks like I'm comparing 5/8 and I'm comparing 6/8. So I have an equal number here. They both made 8 shots, but who got more? Simon did because he made 6. So Simon is the correct answer for number 17. And for number 18, so May ate 2/6 of a broccoli quiche. Stella ate 2/8 of a spinach quiche. Those both sound yummy to me. If the quiches were the same size, who ate more? So we're comparing something divided into sixths and something divided into eighths. Well, the eighths would be smaller pieces. So May, who ate 2 pieces, would have eaten the bigger amount. So who ate more? May ate more. So I'm hoping, boys and girls, that you did well on that. If you didn't, go back, rewatch the video part 1, maybe go back, watch this video again, and think about your cheat sheet and keep looking at that, and maybe that will help you. And later in the week, I might do another video and send another video along with this, and maybe we'll do another practice, and maybe we'll do a little check-in or check-up with it on Friday. Okay, so I hope you had fun with that. I hope that comparing fractions with the numerators and denominators and those little tips and tricks sunk in, and I hope you did well with this. I'm betting that you did, because you guys are all great at math. So have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.